Everyone dreams. The boy next to me in the factory dreamed. The telegraph operators I worked with dreamed. The railroad workers dreamed. The steel mill labourers dreamed. Everyone dreamed. Dreamed of better life. Dreamed of more money. Dreamed of escaping poverty. Dreamed of success. Dreamed of wealth. Dreamed of achievement. Everyone dreamed the same dreams, the same aspirations, the same desires, the same visions. Everyone dreamed, but I did. That is the difference, not the dreaming, the doing, not the vision, the execution, not the wanting, the working, not the aspiration, the action, not the imagination, the implementation. Everyone dreams, few do. Everyone wants, few work. Everyone aspires, few achieve. Everyone imagines, few implement. The difference is not the dream, the difference is the discipline that separates dreamers from doers, the discipline that turns vision into reality, the discipline that converts dreams into achievements, the discipline that transforms aspiration into accomplishment, the discipline that makes the difference, the discipline that separates, the discipline that matters, the discipline that I had and most people do not have, the discipline that separates dreamers from doers. Let me tell you about this discipline, not the discipline of working hard. Everyone knows you must work hard, not the discipline of wanting success. Everyone wants success. Not the discipline of having dreams. Everyone has dreams, but the discipline that actually matters, the discipline that actually separates, the discipline that actually makes the difference between dreaming and doing, between wanting and achieving, between aspiring and accomplishing, between imagining and implementing, the discipline that separates dreamers from doers. The discipline is this: doing what you said you would do, when you said you would do it, whether you feel like it or not. That is the discipline. Simple statement, 3 parts. Do what you said, when you said, whether you feel like it or not. Simple, obvious, clear. The discipline that separates dreamers from doers. The discipline that almost no one maintains. The discipline that I maintained for 50 years. The discipline that built everything. The discipline that separates. Let me explain each part. Because the discipline is simple, but maintaining it is hard. Understanding it is easy, but applying it is difficult. Knowing it is common, but living it is rare. The discipline that separates dreamers from doers. Do what you said you would do. Dreamers say things, make plans, set goals, declare intentions, announce ambitions, promise actions, talk about what they will do, what they will achieve, what they will accomplish, what they will build. They say, they declare, they announce, they promise, they talk. Dreamers are excellent at saying, at declaring, at announcing, at promising, at talking. Dreamers say what they will do, always, constantly, endlessly. They say, but they do not do. They say they will start a business. They do not start a business. They say they will learn a skill. They do not learn a skill. They say they will save money. They do not save money. They say they will invest. They do not invest. They say they will build. They do not build. They say they will change. They do not change. They say, but they do not do. They are dreamers. They dream. They talk. They say, but they do not do. They are dreamers, not doers. Doers do what they said they would do. Not maybe, not sometimes, not when convenient, not when easy. Always, every time, without exception, without excuse, without justification, without rationalization. They said they would do it. They do it, period, end of statement. No complexity, no ambiguity, no flexibility, no excuses. They said that they do it. That is the discipline. The first part, do what you said you would do, always, every time, without exception. That separates doers from dreamers. I said I would escape poverty, I did. I said I would learn Morse code, I did. I said I would invest my first money. I did. I said I would build a steel company. I did. I said I would dominate the industry. I did. I said I would become the wealthiest man. I did. Everything I said I would do, I did. Not because saying made it easy, not because declaring made it happen, not because announcing created results, but because I had the discipline to do what I said I would do, always, every time, without exception, without excuse, without justification. I said it, I did it. That was the discipline. The first part, that separated me from dreamers, that made me a doer. Most people do not have this discipline. They say things they do not do, make plans they do not execute, set goals they do not achieve, declare intentions they do not fulfill, announce ambitions they do not pursue, promise actions they do not take. They say, but they do not do. Their words mean nothing. Their declarations are empty. Their promises are worthless. Their plans are fantasies. They are dreamers, not doers. They lack the discipline to do what they said they would do, the discipline that separates, the discipline that matters, the discipline they do not have when you said you would do it. Dreamers have flexible timelines. We'll start business someday. We'll learn skill eventually. We'll save money soon. We'll invest when ready. We'll build later. We'll change tomorrow, someday, eventually, soon, when ready, later, tomorrow. Never today, never now, never this moment, always later, always someday, always eventually. Flexible timelines, indefinite schedules, vague commitments, no deadline, no urgency, no now, always later. Dreamers have flexible timelines, vague schedules, indefinite commitments. They will do it someday, eventually, later, never now, never today. That is why they are dreamers, not doers. Doers have specific timelines. We'll start business by this date. We'll learn skill within this time. We'll save this amount by this month. We'll invest by this deadline. We'll build by this schedule. We'll change starting today. Specific dates, definite timelines, clear deadlines today, this week, this month, this year. Not someday, not eventually, not later. Now, specific, definite, clear, scheduled. Doers have specific timelines, definite schedules, clear commitments. They will do it by this date, at this time, according to this schedule, not someday, today. That is why they are doers, not dreamers. I set deadlines always, every goal, every plan, every intention, every commitment. Specific deadline, definite timeline, clear schedule. Learn Morse code by 6 months. Make first investment by 18. Start business by 35. Dominate industry by 50. Specific, definite, clear, always with timeline, always with deadline, always with schedule. And I met them not because meeting them was easy, not because deadlines made things happen automatically, but because I had the discipline to do what I said when I said I would do it, by the deadline, according to the timeline, on the schedule, always, every time, without exception. The second part of the discipline, when you said you would do it, not later, not someday, not eventually, when you said by the deadline according to the schedule, that separates doers from dreamers. Most people do not have this discipline. They set vague timelines, make indefinite commitments, have flexible schedules. We'll do it someday, we'll do it eventually, we'll do it when ready. Never specific, never definite, never scheduled, always flexible, always indefinite, always vague. They are dreamers, not doers. They lack the discipline to do things when they said they would do them, by the deadline, according to the timeline, on the schedule, the discipline that separates, the discipline that matters, the discipline they do not have, whether you feel like it or not. This is the critical part, the part that separates completely, the part that matters most, the part that makes the discipline work, whether you feel like it or not. not when you feel motivated, not when you feel inspired, not when you feel energetic, not when you feel ready, not when you feel like it, but whether you feel like it or not, when you feel like it and when you do not feel like it, when you are motivated and when you are not motivated, when you are inspired and when you are not inspired, when you are energetic and when you are exhausted, when you are ready and when you are not ready, whether you feel like it or not. That is the discipline. That is what separates. That is what matters most. Dreamers do things when they feel like it, when they feel motivated, when they feel inspired, when they feel energetic, when they feel ready, when conditions are right, when mood is good, when circumstances are favourable, when they feel like it. That is when dreamers do things when they feel like it, which is rarely, which is occasionally, which is inconsistently, which is unpredictably, which is not enough. Dreamers do things when they feel like it, which is why they remain dreamers, which is why they do not do, which is why they do not achieve, which is why they do not accomplish, which is why dreams remain dreams, because dreamers only do things when they feel like it, and they rarely feel like it. Doers do things whether they feel like it or not, every day, every time, every deadline, every commitment, whether they feel like it or not, whether they are motivated or not, whether they are inspired or not, whether they are energetic or not, whether they are ready or not, whether conditions are right or not, whether mood is good or not, whether circumstances are favourable or not. They do it anyway because they said they would, because the deadline is today, because the commitment is now. They do it whether they feel like it or not. That is the discipline. That is what separates. That is what makes them doers, not dreamers. I worked when I did not feel like working. I built when I did not feel like building. I pushed when I did not feel like pushing. I continued when I did not feel like continuing. I persisted when I did not feel like persisting. I did when I did not feel like doing, every day for 50 years. Whether I felt like it or not, whether I was motivated or not, whether I was inspired or not, whether I was energetic or not, whether I was ready or not. I did it anyway because I said I would, because the deadline was today, because the commitment was now. I did it. Whether I felt like it or not, that was the discipline. The third part, the critical part, the part that separates completely, the part that made me a doer, not a dreamer, the discipline of doing whether you feel like it or not. Most people do not have this discipline. They do things when they feel like it, when they feel motivated, when they feel inspired, when they feel energetic, when they feel ready, which is occasionally, which is inconsistently, which is rarely, which is not enough. They are dreamers, not doers. They lack the discipline to do things whether they feel like it or not, the discipline that separates completely, the discipline that matters most, the discipline they do not have. This is the complete discipline. 3 parts. Do what you said you would do, when you said you would do it, whether you feel like it or not. Simple discipline, clear discipline, obvious discipline, the discipline that separates dreamers from doers, the discipline that almost no one has, the discipline that I had, the discipline that built everything, the discipline that separates. Let me show you how this discipline works in practice, how it looks in real life, how it creates results, how it separates dreamers from doers, how it transforms dreams into reality, how it converts aspiration into accomplishment, how it makes the difference, the discipline in action. I said I would learn Morse code. That was what I said I set deadline of 6 months. That was when I said I practiced every day, whether I felt like it or not. That was whether every day I practiced, every day for 6 months, when I was tired, when I was discouraged, when I was bored, when I was frustrated, when I did not feel like practicing, when I wanted to rest, when I wanted to quit, when I wanted to do something else. I practiced anyway because I said I would, because the deadline was approaching, because the commitment was daily practice. I practiced, whether I felt like it or not. That was the discipline, the complete discipline. All three parts, what I said, when I said, whether I felt like it or not. The discipline in action. After 6 months, I knew Morse code better than most trained operators, not because I was more talented, not because I was smarter, not because I had advantages, but because I had the discipline to do what I said when I said, whether I felt like it or not. That discipline created the result. That discipline made me ready. That discipline opened the opportunity. That discipline separated me from dreamers who talked about learning Morse code but never did. Who said they would learn but never learned, who dreamed but never did. The discipline separated me, made me a doer, not a dreamer. I said I would invest my first real money. That was what I said. I set deadline of making investment by age 18. That was when I said. I saved every penny whether I felt like saving or not. That was whether. Every dollar I earned I saved. Every week, every month. When I wanted to spend on comfort, when I wanted to buy better food, when I wanted to improve our living situation, when I wanted to reward myself, when I did not feel like saving, when saving felt painful, when deprivation felt unbearable, I saved anyway. Because I said I would, because the deadline was approaching, because the commitment was save everything I saved, whether I felt like it or not. That was the discipline, the complete discipline, all three parts, the discipline in action. By 18, I had capital to invest, not because I earned more than others, not because I had advantages, not because saving was easy, but because I had the discipline to do what I said when I said, whether I felt like it or not. That discipline created the capital. That discipline made investment possible. That discipline started the compounding. That discipline separated me from dreamers who talked about investing but never invested, who said they would save but never saved, who dreamed but never did. The discipline separated me, made me a doer, not a dreamer. I said I would build the largest steel company in the world. That was what I said. I set deadline of dominating the industry by age 50. That was when I said. I worked every day, whether I felt like working or not. That was whether. Every day for decades, when I was exhausted, when I was discouraged, when I was doubtful, when I was afraid, when I did not feel like working, when rest seemed more attractive, when quitting seemed reasonable, when continuing seemed pointless. I worked anyway, because I said I would, because the deadline was approaching, because the commitment was daily work. I worked, whether I felt like it or not. That was the discipline, the complete discipline, all three parts, the discipline in action. By 50, I dominated the steel industry completely, not because I was more talented than competitors, not because I had more advantages, not because I was luckier, but because I had the discipline to do what I said when I said, whether I felt like it or not. That discipline built the company. That discipline created the dominance. That discipline made me the richest man in the world. That discipline separated me from dreamers who talked about building empires but never built, who said they would dominate but never dominated, who dreamed but never did. The discipline separated me, made me a doer, not a dreamer. This is how the discipline works. This is how it creates results. This is how it separates. Say what you will do. Set deadline for when you will do it. Do it every day, whether you feel like it or not. That is the discipline. That is what separates dreamers from doers. That is what transforms dreams into reality. That is what I did. That is what created everything. That is the discipline. But most people do not have this discipline. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you what prevents people from maintaining this discipline, what stops them from being doers, what keeps them as dreamers, what prevents the discipline, what destroys the doing, what maintains the dreaming. Let me tell you why most people remain dreamers instead of becoming doers. Most people confuse intention with action. They intend to do something, they plan to do something, they want to do something, they think about doing something, and they believe that intention is action, that planning is doing, that wanting is achieving, that thinking is implementing. They confuse, they mistake, they misunderstand. They believe intention equals action, planning equals doing, wanting equals achieving, thinking equals implementing. They confuse, and confusion prevents discipline, prevents doing, keeps them dreaming, keeps them from becoming doers. I never confused intention with action. Intention was not action. Planning was not doing. Wanting was not achieving. Thinking was not implementing. I understood the difference, clear difference, absolute difference, complete difference. Intention is thought. Action is deed. Planning is preparation. Doing is execution. Wanting is desire, achieving is result, thinking is internal, implementing is external. Different, completely different, absolutely different. I never confused. I always distinguished. I always knew. Intention is not action. Planning is not doing. Wanting is not achieving. Thinking is not implementing. Only action is action. Only doing is doing. Only achieving is achieving. Only implementing is implementing. I never confused. That is why I had the discipline. That is why I was a doer, not a dreamer. Most people confuse talking with doing. They talk about their plans, they discuss their goals, they describe their dreams, they explain their intentions, they speak about what they will do, and they believe that talking is doing, that discussing is achieving, that describing is implementing, that explaining is executing, that speaking is acting. They confuse, they mistake, they misunderstand. They believe talking equals doing, discussing equals achieving, describing equals implementing. They confuse, and confusion prevents discipline, prevents doing, keeps them dreaming, keeps them from becoming doers. I never confused talking with doing. Talking was not doing, discussing was not achieving, describing was not implementing, explaining was not executing, speaking was not acting. I understood the difference, clear difference, absolute difference, complete difference. Talking is words, doing is deeds, discussing is conversation, achieving is result, describing is communication, implementing is execution. Different, completely different, absolutely different. I rarely talked about what I would do. I just did it. I did not discuss plans. I executed plans. I did not describe dreams. I achieved dreams. I did not explain intentions. I implemented intentions. I did not speak about doing. I did. That is why I had the discipline. That is why I was a doer, not a dreamer. Most people wait for motivation. They wait to feel motivated before acting, wait to feel inspired before starting, wait to feel energetic before working, wait to feel ready before beginning. They wait. They wait for feeling, wait for mood, wait for conditions, wait for readiness. They wait, and while they wait, they do nothing. While they wait for motivation, they remain inactive. While they wait to feel ready, they do not begin. They wait, and waiting prevents doing. Waiting maintains dreaming. Waiting keeps them dreamers, not doers. I never waited for motivation, never waited to feel inspired, never waited to feel energetic, never waited to feel ready. I never waited, I did, without motivation, without inspiration, without energy, without readiness. I did anyway, because waiting guarantees nothing happens. Waiting creates no results. Waiting achieves nothing. Waiting is enemy of doing. Waiting is friend of dreaming. I never waited. I did immediately, now, today, without waiting for motivation, without waiting to feel like it, without waiting to be ready. I did. That is why I had the discipline. That is why I was a doer, not a dreamer. Most people negotiate with themselves. They say they will do something, then they negotiate, maybe not today, maybe tomorrow, maybe not this much, maybe less, maybe not this way, maybe differently. They negotiate, they compromise, they adjust, they reduce, they postpone, they modify, they negotiate with themselves. I never negotiated with myself, never compromised, never adjusted commitments downward, never reduced plans, never postponed deadlines, never modified to make things easier. I never negotiated. What I said I would do, I did. When I said I would do it, I did it then. How I said I would do it, I did it that way. No negotiation, no compromise, no adjustment, no reduction, no postponement, no modification. I said it. I did it exactly, completely, on time, every time, no negotiation. That is why I had the discipline. That is why I was a doer, not a dreamer. This is why most people remain dreamers. They confuse intention with action, confuse talking with doing, wait for motivation, negotiate with themselves. These confusions, these mistakes, these habits prevent discipline, prevent doing, maintain dreaming, keep them dreamers, not doers, keep them talking instead of doing, planning instead of executing, wanting instead of achieving, dreaming instead of implementing. Keep them dreamers forever until they die, still dreaming, never doing, never achieving, never becoming doers, because they lack the discipline that separates dreamers from doers. I had the discipline for 50 years, every day, without exception, without compromise, without negotiation, without excuse. I did what I said I would do when I said I would do it, whether I felt like it or not. That was the discipline. That was what separated me. That was what made me a doer. That was what built everything. That was what created the results. That was what transformed dreams into reality. That was the discipline that separates dreamers from doers. This discipline is available to anyone, is not talent, is not intelligence, is not advantage, is not luck, is choice, is decision, is commitment, is daily practice, is refusing to confuse intention with action, is refusing to confuse talking with doing, is refusing to wait for motivation, is refusing to negotiate with yourself, is choosing to do what you said you would do when you said you would do it, whether you feel like it or not. That is the discipline. That is available to anyone. That is choice. That creates results. That separates. That makes you doer instead of dreamer. But most people will not choose it, will not maintain it, will not practice it, will remain dreamers, will keep talking instead of doing, will keep planning instead of executing, will keep wanting instead of achieving, will keep dreaming instead of implementing, will remain dreamers because discipline is hard, is uncomfortable, is demanding, is relentless, is unforgiving, is constant, is daily, is whether you feel like it or not. Most people will not maintain it, will not choose it, will remain dreamers, not become doers. But you can, if you choose, if you commit, if you practice, if you maintain the discipline, the simple discipline, the clear discipline, the obvious discipline, the discipline that separates dreamers from doers. Do what you said you would do when you said you would do it. Whether you feel like it or not, that is the discipline that creates results, that transforms dreams into reality, that separates, that makes you doer, not dreamer. That is available, that is choice, that is now, that is you. If you choose it, if you maintain it, if you practice it every day, for years, for decades, for life, whether you feel like it or not, that is the discipline that separates dreamers from doers, that I had, that you can have. That makes all the difference. The discipline that separates dreamers from doers